The cryo vault had not been opened in over 3,000 years. Alien technicians stood behind reinforced observation glass as warning glyphs pulsed across the ancient human capsule. The sarcophagus was massive, far larger than modern stasis pods, its surface scarred by impacts, claw marks, and something that looked disturbingly like melted metal. "This is a mistake," hissed Overseer Krelt H. "The archive clearly labels him Category Omega." The lead xenoscientist flicked his crest dismissively. "Primitive species. Outdated biology. Whatever this human was, time has reduced him to dust." The power surged. Frost cracked along the seams of the capsule. Inside, a massive shape moved. Alarms screamed through the lab. Vital signs detected. A technician shouted, "Muscle density. By the stars. This can't be right." With a deafening roar, the lid blew off with explosive force. A cloud of supercooled vapor flooded the chamber as a figure stepped out. Tall, broad, scarred, the human inhaled deeply, his breath fogging the air around him. Pale blue eyes opened, sharp and alert, instantly scanning the room. Thick cables snapped free from his body like threads. "Status," the human said calmly. The universal translator lagged for just half a second, then rendered the word perfectly. The observation room went silent. "He's conscious," whispered Krelt H., his voice trembling. The human rolled his shoulders. Metal restraints clattered to the floor, crushed in his grip like soft clay. Every sensor in the room spiked violently, red lines screaming off the charts. "Impossible," muttered the scientist. "That strength output exceeds modern combat The human's gaze lifted, locking onto the glass separating him from the observers. "I asked for status," he repeated, louder this time, sharper. The reinforced glass cracked under the pressure of his voice alone. Several aliens stumbled back in terror. Krelt H. slammed his control talon on the console. "Containment, sedated." Automated turrets dropped from the ceiling, firing neurodisruptors powerful enough to fell armored war beasts. The human turned his head, watching the darts approach. They struck his skin and shattered, falling to the floor like broken toys. He looked down at the fragments, unimpressed. "Still using those," he muttered to himself. "Figures." With a single step, he crossed the chamber. He didn't run, he just stepped. The floor cratered beneath his boot. The reinforced blast door, rated to withstand starship collisions, lasted less than a second. The human punched straight through it, tearing the metal apart and stepping into the observation room as if walking through a curtain. Krelt H. froze as the human loomed over him. Up close, the alien could see the scars in detail. Burn marks, surgical lines, reinforced bone ridges beneath the skin. This wasn't a civilian. This wasn't even a soldier. "What are you?" Krelt whispered, his voice barely audible. The human tilted his head, considering the question for a moment. "Last time I checked," he said, "Captain Elias Kane, Terran Vanguard." The name triggered a cascade of emergency alerts across the station's databanks. Ancient records, sealed for millennia, unlocked. Red warnings flooded every screen. "Human, were for Amera. Status, extreme threat. Engaged in extinction level conflict." Krelth's blood ran cold. The scientist, now pale and shaking, stammered. "You were frozen before the Galactic Union even existed. Your species was declared extinct." Kane snorted, a humorless sound. "Yeah, we get that a lot." He walked past them, completely ignoring the guards aiming weapons that suddenly felt very, very small in their hands. "Why was I woken?" Kane asked, his voice a low rumble. Krelth swallowed hard, trying to find his voice. We found your vessel, a derelict near the Black Rift. Your cryopod was still powered. We wished to study." He was cut off by a distant explosion that rocked the entire station. Red emergency lights flared to life, painting the corridors in a bloody glow. "Overseer," a frantic voice crackled over the comms. "Hostile fleet emerging from hyperspace. Unknown configuration. They're firing on us." Kane stopped walking. Slowly, a smile spread across his face. It was not a friendly smile. "That'll be the Carracks," he said, his tone almost casual. "Took them long enough." Krelth stared at him, utterly bewildered. "You know them. They wiped out 3 human sectors," Kane replied calmly, as if discussing the weather. "We nearly finished them before I volunteered for Project Deep Sleep." Another explosion hit, closer this time. The station shook violently, and screams echoed over the comms. "Our defenses won't hold," someone shouted. Kane turned back, his eyes blazing with something ancient and incredibly dangerous. "Good," he said. "Means I don't have to hold back." He strode towards the station's armory. The heavy blast doors buckled outward as he entered. Alien engineers watched in disbelief as he pulled an old, human-designed weapon from a sealed relic crate. It was a brutal-looking rifle, all sharp angles and heavy plating. The weapon hummed to life in his hands, a soft glow emanating from its core, recognizing him instantly. "Oh yeah," Kane chuckled, a deep, satisfied sound. "Missed you too." Minutes later, the Carrick's boarding force breached the station. They never made it past the main corridor. Security footage later showed a blur of motion. Bulkheads were torn apart like paper. Hulking Carrick's warbeasts were thrown like toys. Energy cannons were crushed with bare hands. Kane walked through plasma fire as if it were a light rain. One Carrick's commander, a giant, four-armed brute, managed to get a clear line of sight. "Human," it roared. "You are alone. Surrender." Kane simply cracked his neck, the sound echoing in the sudden quiet. "I was trained alone." The corridor went silent, punctuated only by the sounds of a one-sided slaughter. When the battle ended, Kane stood amid the wreckage and alien corpses, barely breathing hard. Krelt H approached him cautiously, his fear now mixed with a profound sense of awe. You could destroy us," the Overseer said, his voice shaky. "Why don't you?" Kane looked out at the stars through a massive, shattered viewport in the station's hull. "Because," he said quietly, his gaze lost in the void, "someone woke me up." He turned back, his pale blue eyes sharp and piercing. "And if humans are really extinct," he smiled that dangerous smile again, "guess it's time we fixed that." On the station's main sensor array, a single human life sign was now visible, burning brighter than an entire fleet, and for the first time in galactic history, the stars were afraid.